Hello, this is just a generic rant from Fugly again. Fugly is an idea, not a person. Anyway, um, I talk about human rights. Some of the ideas that people have about human rights are really sort of reframing of and relabeling of debates that sort of happened probably in the late 1940s. There were debates that people had before that. In some circles, but as a sort of just a general like political sort of thing, institutionally speaking, it's the 1940s with the advent of the UNCCPR and things like that. So, in the greater context of what those particular human rights legislations well, it was a protocol that, when ratified by the member state of the United Nations and then enacted and turned into a law in their own country, it becomes a law. Basically, that's the actual process. Um, it is for some people it's couched the protocols are sort of um, um, culturally contextual. So take for example the right to have a religion without being oppressed or bastardized or abused. Bastardized is not the right word, but the way to describe it, for having religion. So that particular um, clause in the UNCCPR was likely written in reaction to the sort of religious warfare component that was going on in Europe during World War II. The religious component, um, the religious element meant that effectively there was a reason to believe that very strongly that the discrimination that was going on had a religious basis. So that these days we talk about things like the Nazi occultism, whether or not they were practicing um, European paganism or not. They kind of were and kind of weren't. But in the greater story, they were actually working for the they were working for the Vatican through the Concord Act to increase Catholic membership numbers. Um, but so there was the old wars of pogroms against Jews by Christians in Europe and pagan posers and whatever else meant that part of the reaction was to say that you have the right to practice your religion without being abused. So that would therefore mean that people could be Christian without being abused, and people could be Jewish without being abused. Um, it does not say that you don't have the right to be free from religion. If you don't have it doesn't specify that if your religion is to abuse others, um, that you're not allowed to do that. It just says you cannot be abused on the basis of your religion. Okay, it doesn't say you can't abuse others on the basis of your religion, and this is really vitally important to understand this, because abusing others on the basis of your religion, okay, is different from being abused on the basis of your religion. So, if someone bashes you up because, say, you're a Catholic or a Jew or you're a Muslim or something like that, okay, then you are being abused because of your religion, and that's against that law. It's against that protocol, and it was ratified and enacted by your country. It's against your country's law also. If, however, your religion specifically says that you're allowed to abuse others, okay, that's a different argument. Okay, so when it comes to things like what's happened with the gay rights community, gay rights issue and stuff like that. So since in Anglophone countries since the late 1970s, there's been a thing called the Stonewall Riot type of thing, the 78ers and stuff like that, um, where people were for a long time in Anglophone countries abused for being gay because of a long-standing history that came from religion, which is the homophobic belief that being gay was against God's law, basically, and that being against God's law meant that it could not be ecclesiastical law, and until the late 1800s, it therefore could not be the state's law, because it was really in the 1800s and the 1900s you start to get to what's called secularization of the nation states as well. So those people were being abused on the basis of someone else's religion. They weren't being abused on the basis of their religion. They were being abused on the basis of someone else's. And sometimes those gay people also shared those people's religions, because some of those people were Christians, or Jews, or from whichever religion had subscribed that ecclesiastical law. To be fair, it was the Christians. Okay, so the right to be free from abuse by someone else's other religion or because of their religion was not written into the UNCCPR. There has not been any law written in any country that we know of that says that you can be free from abuse by other people's religions. And that's what's causing most of the consternation. If you're talking about people who go to an abortion clinic because they're at risk of miscarriage, or they just need an abortion because they were raped, or they just want an abortion, and the fetus is an embryo and less than 6 weeks old, or whatever it might be. Okay, so they go to an abortion clinic, they go to a sexual health clinic to get that abortion. They're surrounded by gay people and straight people who are getting STI checks and stuff as well. People are there with rape kits, or the whole lot's there. Those people that go to that space can, in fact, even when that clinic and that practice is legal in their society, can in fact be abused on the basis of someone else's religion on the way to that clinic. So one of the things people have noticed with that is that the religious fundamentalists, whichever religion they might come from, who are against that particular practice, they picket people outside of those clinics and abuse them, call them kid killers and stuff like that. And that's abuse of those people. They're going to a medical facility, okay? And they're allowed to abuse people going to a medical facility because it is not against the law to abuse someone because your religion told you to. And we need to make it perfectly clear that that is a horrendous situation. It's a horrendous situation because you've got these complete strangers making assumptions about what someone is or is not doing and maltreating them on the basis of their prejudice and what they believe. So at this point, it doesn't matter if you're for or against abortion. Or what only matters is, are you for or against people being able to go about their lives peaceably without being harassed on the basis of someone else's religion? Okay, we get harassed by other people's religions all the time. We constantly, it's a very strange thing in Australia when you go to the shops around Christmas time, and you hear a song playing, and it goes, "Sleigh bells ring, I'm listening by the snow, it's a glistening," and it's like a beautiful song, walking in a winter wonderland. And if you're an Australian, that means cuckoo bananas to you. That's insane. Because to walk into that shop, you have to pass through 45 degrees centigrade, broiling heat. You could get second-degree burns if the UV index is high enough and you're outside long enough. And you walk into, air conditioning, winter wonderland. It's like, oh. Well, you know what? That 10 degrees centigrade that you're getting from the shopping centre air conditioning is practically frozen compared to 45 degrees centigrade, so maybe. But it's not the same as abusing someone. As more the point. It's like a jarring, dissonant form of harassment. And it also would be wrong to categorise and say it's only the Christian or the Catholic religions that are doing that to people. Like Westboro Baptist Church or whatever else. Technically, the Technocratic Party that Musk and Associates, the Tech Bros, are part of, are practising a religion. Okay, that is a cult. What they're doing is a cult. They have beliefs that are not substantiated by fact. They have practices that are based on woo and silly nonsense. They have these ideas that are not nonsensical. They have a preference for their own group as opposed to outsiders. That's typically characteristic of a religious group. And it could apply that logic to outside of the technocrats as well. You can see how that applies to MAGA. You can see how it applies to the Democrat Party in the United States of America. You can apply that logic to lots and lots of groups. And sort of being free from those religions' abuse is just like, it hasn't been enshrined as a right for people to be free from abuse by other people's religions, other people's conspiracy theories, other people's toxicity, has not been enshrined as a right. Supposedly we have the right to practice our own religions or not have one. But the moment we encounter a situation where that person's religion includes abusing us, we have no recourse under human rights. Even when we live in a secular country, Australian Constitution says there almost nothing about human rights, and even has clauses that some would classify as genuinely racist, like Section 63, for example. Okay? Nonetheless, it does say that Australia is secular and religion is a personal choice. Okay? Which directly contradicts the Constitution saying that the monarch of England is the head of state or whatever. Because the monarch of England is also the head of the Anglican Church. They're actually a theocrat. So they have a dual role, both a political and a religious role, as the head of the Anglican Church. So you cannot possibly have a constitution that is secular and says that you have the right to freedom of religion and the government has no official religion, while simultaneously saying that your head of state is a theocrat. There are contradictions in the UNCCPR as well that were just mentioned. Like I said, you have the right to be free from being abused for having a religion. So if you want to go to synagogue, the KKK can't bash you up. That's a good thing. We're not disputing that. What we're saying, though, is why can't we be abused for not having a religion? Okay, atheists don't have the same rights as religious people. Agnostics don't have the same right as religious people. They don't have the right to not be abused by other people's religions, and they are. They are, because the collective mind spaces are saturated with enormous egregores and waveforms and thought forms, which are encouraging people to do the wrong thing. To force people to experience things like the harvest or whatever, and to experience Satanism, to experience Christianity, to experience all those things. These things are not by consent. So that's all of that is an assumption there that you would potentially argue that's even possible. If you don't argue that's possible, that's fine. But for the people that have experienced it or would argue that it's possible for whatever reason, okay, what they're telling you is that they were abused by other people's religions. And there are people who are walking around saying that they're targeting individuals, they therefore accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Saviour, but because they've been abused by other people's religions. And sometimes they're abused by the religions of the technocrats or the AI transhuman agenda, and sometimes they're abused by Christianity. And what you've got there is a situation of trying to force kowtowing. Okay? They try to say You don't have the right to be free from abuse because of other people's religions. You only have the freedom to be not abused for having yours. And if you don't have one, then they will abuse you. Each and every group. So the devil is the religious people. The devil is the technocrats. The devil is the people who do Kabbalah. The devil is the AI transhumanists. The devil is the Christians. The devil is the Catholics. The devil is the Jews. The devil is the Muslims. The devil is the Buddhists. The devil is the Hindus. The devil is the Theosophists. The devil is the Masons. The devil is that same old fucking shit of dickheads thinking they can abuse you and even exist instead of you, or harass others who don't deserve it, and make you experience torture or whatever it is on a basis that you don't agree with any of them. You should have the right to be free from being abused by other people's religions. You shouldn't just have the right to be free from abuse if you have one. You should have the right to be free from abuse by religion. And people are constantly abused every single day by religion. Western esotericism they're abused by in the form of geomancy, and the sort of symbolism that they use in the media. Christianity likewise abuses them. They get abused by Islam. They get abused by Judaism. They get abused by every single religion, every single day. That religion, the religion of Hammurabi, is still abusing people through the language of property, as people as property. You're abused every single day. When you hear a light angel versus a dark angel, okay, you're hearing a white man thinks he is good and a black man is evil. You're hearing the language of racism. You're hearing people of colour, to use the American term, being abused by the religion. When you hear the language of empire talking, it's saying that their religion is more important than the others. Sometimes it comes along and it gives you what's called fake secularity. The technocrats and the AI transhumanists are what's called the fake secularity. This scam that they've got going on at the moment about the world being a holographic simulation, and so-called Nobel Prize in 2022, they said. Okay? Don't forget that it was considered mainstream and even rewarded science in the early 20th century and late 1800s for people to practice phrenology and other forms of race theory, which are now considered debunked, disproven, archaic, and hateful. Don't be surprised if that so-called Nobel Prize is a misdirection that is not grounded in scientific fact, but is part of an agenda to make you subscribe to their new religion called the simulation religion. Where, if it's a simulation, you need to know what the codes are. Oh, wouldn't you know it? It just so happens to be Thelema, or Vaticanism, or the New Age movement, or whatever. It just so happens to be whatever it takes to make you a cyborg in their industrial army. The fulfillment of capitalism to its fullest potential, cycling through fascism to its ultimate goal, which is communism, where every sheep is a shepherd, every shepherd is a wizard, every wizard is a wolf, and every wolf is the slaughterhouse. To have no distinction, no righteousness, where if somebody commits the crime, they get in trouble, not the victim. No freedom of thought, no freedom of energy, no freedom from technology. You should have the right to be free of religion and free of technology. This scientism is not science proper. It's scientism. It's the religion of science without the practice of science. It's buzzword after buzzword after buzzword. Ripping out buzzword and putting it in a different context. Quantum field minds. Okay? It says the New Age movement or quantum. Your quantum mind. No, you haven't got a quantum mind. If you hear someone like Roger Penrose talk about microtubules, you'll find, if you ever studied neurology, they do not exist. Okay, you are talking about people who are overstepping their professional boundaries and talking absolute fucking garbage and not even telling the truth of what their own professions have found. They are, in fact, part of an agenda where they've got to lick the fucking boots and the fucking assholes of the military-industrial complex to get their funding so they can have their precious CERN and they can have their precious rockets because it takes $1 billion to build them. They're at the point where they're completely projecting mathematics onto surfaces and pretending that's the reality of that surface. They're not actually doing science anymore, they're doing scientism. Physics is now bunk. Okay? Physics is no longer a science. Physics has not been a science for about 50 years. And it definitely has not been acting like a science for the last 20. You will find no science in physics. You will find only men, usually, who are projecting their mathematical constructs onto things that they haven't even measured, and they're going and getting $1 billion from a fuckwit who wants to make a cyborg industrial army out of the population, okay, right, as part of the ultimate form of slavery and mind control. You will find a bunch of beings who do not understand the English language, who walk around and try to claim there's this thing called autism or Asperger's. If your physical body says the pronoun I, then it is correct for a different physical body to perceive that as that physical body talking about that physical body. That is the correct use of the term. That is how an autistic person hears that. That is not how a normie intends it. So the issue there is not perceiving language properly by the autistic. It's communicating it honestly by the normie. And most of those physics people that you're talking about are not autistic. That's a stereotype. They've got this big bang stereotype out there for you to make you think they're all a bunch of Sheldon Coopers, when they're not. Their personalities are nothing like them. Nothing like them. And even if they were, would you want them to be? The characters in that show don't represent nerdcore. They're obnoxious. They're fucking obnoxious. They're obnoxious characters. There are people in the world that don't want to be part of your technological revolution. You can call them troglodytes if you will. But they're people that acknowledge that technology is an object, not a subject. That people aren't meant to be robots. They're meant to be people. And that the tools are subordinate to the tradesman, not the other way around. But they're troglodytes, apparently. Because they're not up with the program. Not up with the program of the pronoun you. Once being a non-person word. Being a object word. You stupid lighter. Now being you stupid person. Since the late 1400s. By aristocratic decree. Okay? You need to get past the myth that the founding fathers of the USA were part of a greater storyline of liberating the people with democracy and capitalism from their aristocratic masters. No, it was just another one of their projects. Okay? So please, acknowledge the situation for what it is. You, stupid idiots, didn't listen to a single fucking revolutionary or radical over the last 200 or 300 years, and instead you brought your fake fucking revolutions and your fake fucking symbolic fights, and you listened to the symbols and you didn't do depth work. Not even you so-called shadow warrior, fucking fake esoterists, you fake shadow warriors out there who were there going, oh, there's an egregor. Like, there's this guy called Zed the Healer who said, oh, there's an egregor, we must disentangle. Oh, this is how we solve it by, wouldn't you know it, using egregors, like angel names, or the eight-pointed star. Okay? That is an egregor right there. That is putting the symbols in different spots, but still using egregor. Do you understand that angels and demons are made up? And every time you believe that and you project that, someone is getting hurt. Someone who doesn't believe in that stuff. Someone whose stuff it is not. Okay? You need to stop it. You need to see it for the artifice of what it is, acknowledge that artificial technology or artificial intelligence is not the same thing. You need to distinguish between those things and stop projecting them at people that don't agree with you. We don't agree to your presence. We don't agree to your beliefs. We don't agree to your entities. We don't agree to your technology. We don't agree to your beliefs whatsoever. We don't agree to your techno-fascism. We don't agree to your feudalism. We don't agree to your capitalism. We don't agree to your communism. We do not agree to your Christianity. We do not agree to your chaos magic. We do not agree to any of you. We don't agree to your hierarchies. We don't agree to any of you. Every last one of those things are social constructs made up by people to control other people while they were guessing about what other people were doing. Okay? It is not truth. It is the map, not the terrain. And we have the right to be free from abuse by your maps. You're abusing us with your maps. Burn your maps.